all for thank you all for joining tonight to learn about the dark skies. This kind of came about through our draft climate action plan. And before I go any further, I'm Shana Brogan with the town of Eastham. I'm the projects and procurement director. And we recently went through a whole stakeholder process for developing our climate action plan, which is in the draft phase at this point. It's due to be approved, hopefully, by the Board of Selectmen sometime in April. And so there was a lot of stakeholder input through that process. And one of the key recommendations that came through was for looking at our dark skies and making them more of a priority and maybe relooking at our lighting bylaws in town and seeing if there's anything that we can do to improve on them. So I reached out to James Lowenthal. He's the president of the Dark Sky International Massachusetts chapter to see if he would be willing to educate us on dark skies and everything that they're doing with their organization. So I will turn it over to him and thank him for um, giving us this presentation. I'm looking forward to learning more.
Thank you so much, Shana. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. One of my favorite things to do is sit out under the starry skies and to bring other people. And let's see if you can hear something here. Besides the ringing of the doorbell, maybe you hear the coyotes in the background. I'm here on a high hilltop in Western Massachusetts with a group of students and professors from Smith College out to experience dark skies. And we took a field trip a couple of years ago to that remote hilltop in Heath, Massachusetts, where people saw the Milky Way sometimes for the first time and heard coyotes and saw shooting stars. And it was really a special thing. Here's another field trip with students. And listen to this one. And maybe hear the spring peepers. And the students saying, so many stars. And here I'm in Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, in what is regarded by a number of indigenous people as their homeland, their origin. This is where the Zuni people come from. This is where the Navajo or Diné people come from. And the Diné tell a story about this view that you're seeing right here, the Milky Way, which is that black god was plucking jewels out of a bag and placing them in the sky one by one to put the stars in their position. And Coyote got impatient and grabbed the bag and flung it up into the sky, making the Milky Way. And to this day, many indigenous groups, including the Seneca people who live close to where I am, regard the stars as stepping stones to where their ancestors are now, to the afterlife, and the Milky Way as a pathway to, between us and the future. And I love to think about these connections when I'm out there under the stars like this and bringing other people and looking at the Milky Way and looking at the stars. This is the same view that we have had for thousands of years. Here's another group a little closer to home. This is in Central Mass on the lovely hilltop farm of Smithy, who's now 97 years old, Carol Hillman, a beautiful apple orchard. And when the students sing like this, or especially when they cry, that's when I know I'm hitting gold. That's good. I like that. They're having a really, really profound experience out there in the dark under the Milky Way and the shooting stars and the planets. And here's closer to home. This is in my town of Northampton, Mass. And you probably notice it doesn't look the same. It's pretty bright here, isn't it? And look, you can barely see the Milky Way, just barely. Why is that? Why is it so much harder to see the stars in the Milky Way? Why are we seeing only 1,000 stars here instead of 5,000 stars? Well, here's part of the reason. If I look around from this hilltop here, just a mile from downtown, what are all those bright, bright lights? Well, that's the Hampshire County Jail. And in fact, this is the view of the jail from less than a mile away, half a mile, quarter of a mile maybe, from the site of a development of 3 new houses for Habitat for Humanity. This is the view that they have out their back windows. Horrible lights emanating from that jail. This is downtown Northampton. And imagine being down at the bottom of that canyon of light, trying to look up at the stars. You might not even know that there were stars overhead. Here's one of the first streetlights in North America from over 200 years ago in Baltimore. That would have had a gas flame in it, pretty mellow, not hard on the eyes. It would have provided light for safety so that you didn't crash into a light pole or a building or a person in the middle of the night. Of course, it would have been the first light pole to crash into. What happens if you replace that gas lamp with a bright LED light? This is what you get. These are the same style. These are old-fashioned gas lamp type fixtures in my city of Northampton, but with a totally different light in them than was intended. This is with a bright LED light in them. These are at least 10 times brighter than the gas light that was put in there. This particular street, Strong Avenue, in the summertime is closed off to traffic and gets used by local restaurants for outdoor restaurant seating. Just a great thing, especially during the day. How about at night? Well, at night, look at the view. You're blinded by these bright lights. It's painful. I mean, look at this guy. He's got a headache just from, trying to enjoy this romantic dinner because the light's shining in his eyes. How about this neighbor of mine who thought, I want to light up my walkway, so I'm going to put these bright blue LED lights in the ground, shining into your eyes. This is the worst possible configuration you could have for walkway lighting. You can't see a thing in this situation. It could have been like this. This is a different neighbor who made a totally different choice. The lights are on little posts. They're at about knee height. They're shining down. They're a nice warm color. They're not too bright, and they're not shining in your eye. So this is perfect. It can be done. It's easy to do. It just takes the right choices. Here's another design that is a source of disability, glare, pain, anguish, light pollution. This is an old-fashioned carriage lantern on the wall of a neighbor's house that was designed to have 3 candles in it, but now it's got 3 bright LEDs in it, each one. Much, much brighter than the candles that used to be in there. So in the daytime, it looks kind of quaint, but in the nighttime, it's blinding glare. It's so bright that I have to shield my eyes as I go past there. Lots more examples of this. This is from Nantucket, a little closer to where you are. And this sort of evokes a feeling of history and connection with our culture, at least, colonial culture. But it fails to reproduce the view at night. It is a mismatch of an old technology with a new technology. Okay, so to summarize, what is light pollution? We experience it in 3 different ways, generally. One is glare. It's that light poking you in the eye. Another is light trespass. It's light that's shining in your window or onto your property unintentionally. And it's an artificial brightening of the night sky itself that hides the stars in the Milky Way, sky glow. Where does it come from? Well, it comes from excessive light, too much light, light that is not aimed well. It's not aimed down where it would be useful. It's unintentionally aimed out sideways or even up into the sky. It's light that shines onto a neighbor's property unintentionally. It's light that's left on all night long, even when nobody's there, like this parking lot in Northampton, which checks all these boxes. What could we gain by fixing light pollution? Well, for one thing, we'll get better health. We'll have more safety. We'll actually save money and energy, and this relates directly to your climate action planning. We'll save the starry sky, and we'll protect the health of flora and fauna that our livelihood also depends on. And a little perspective on this, just to remind us, we've seen these two videos already. The video on the left from Chaco Canyon, dark sky, that view of the Milky Way and the planets and the stars, we have had that view for 10,000 generations since people were first people. It's only in the last couple of generations that we've had this light polluted view on the right. It's a pretty new phenomenon, evolutionarily speaking. And the numbers are pretty significant. For example, this plot shows how much light humans are exposed to through the course of a typical day, with midnight on the left going through noon in the middle to midnight on the right. In the old days, we had something like the blue curve, very dark at night, very low on the left, and then very bright in the middle of the day, the big blue peak in the middle, and then very dark again at night. A factor of 1,000,000 in brightness between the amount of light that humans would experience in nighttime versus in daytime. Today's world is very different. Now we have something more like the red curve, where in the nighttime, instead of very, very dark, we're pretty bright. And in the middle of the daytime, instead of very, very bright, we are mostly indoors. And so we've completely flattened the curve in a way that's not good. It's not like flattening the COVID curve. We actually want that blue curve. We should be experiencing deep darkness at night, bright, bright sunshine during the day. We're hardwired to have that cycle. And instead, what we have is this very, very flattened cycle that's much closer. It's about 1,000 times too bright during the nighttime and about 1,000 times too dim during the daytime. This is just one example of evidence for why this is a problem. I'm showing you two maps here of the world. One, light pollution, or light as seen from space. That is to say, light that's shining up into the sky. It's not doing any good on the top. And on the bottom, the rates of breast cancer around the world, where red is the worst. And you'll see that there's a correlation. I mean, you can't miss that the most developed parts of the world, especially North America and Europe, have some of the highest breast cancer rates. It's not just cancer, it's not just breast cancer, it's also diabetes and obesity and mood disorders in teens and disruption of our circadian rhythms, the natural 24-hour cycles of our bodies. Here is just some more evidence. This is a series of reports from the Harvard Nurses Study of over 100,000 nurses over several decades that found a very significant increase in the rate of breast cancer among the nurses who lived in the most light polluted areas. So much so that the World Health Organization considers shift work to be a carcinogen. Shift work meaning, you know, you're up at night exposed to light at night. The breast cancer rate, it's 5 times higher here in the United States than in the undeveloped world. And this is one of the primary reasons. There's a medical consensus reached by nearly 250 scientists, each of whom has published more than 4 articles or 4+ over the last several years, who agreed, at least 2/3 of them agreed on 25 statements about the link between light and health. And I'm just pointing out 3 of these points that they agreed on. Number 1, robust circadian rhythms. Those are, again, the rhythms of our bodies, which are our digestion, our respiration, our sleepiness, our wakefulness, our temperature. Those are all on 24-hour cycles, and those cycles are important for good health. Another one, repeated exposure to light at night that is strong enough to disrupt those circadian rhythms increases the risk of breast cancer in women. So the doctors agree on this. And exposure to blue light suppresses melatonin production. So all these things are linked. How are they linked? How is it that such a benign thing as light could be linked to our health and to something as serious as cancer? And there actually is a mechanism. Our eyes are hardwired to look for the sun going down. And when that does that, when the sun goes down, the amount of blue light drops dramatically. Your eye detects that, sends a signal to the brain, go to bed. Get sleepy and go to bed. And specifically, it tells the brain, start producing melatonin. Melatonin is a very important hormone that floods your body, that resets your circadian clock, your 24-hour clock. It triggers this whole cascade of other hormones that control all those functions like liver and kidney and digestion and all that. And melatonin is a powerful cancer suppressant. In the presence of melatonin, tumors do not grow. In the absence of melatonin, tumors grow quickly. So it's part of melatonin is part of our natural defense system. We've short-circuited it. We've done that with light. This shows the different colors of light. We measure it on the Kelvin scale. So the higher the number, the bluer, the more blue there is, the more white or cold white it looks. The lower the number, the more sort of amber it looks. This is the best light to use at night for your health. Very low numbers. But what we have is the opposite problem. In the old days, for thousands of years, all we had at night was candlelight. And you see it's got that low number around 2000 K. How much does that suppress production of melatonin? Practically none at all, 2% suppression. But in today's world, we have a very different picture. We have lights like the one at the top, that's a bright white, cool white LED with a number 6000 K. That tells you there's a lot of blue light in there. And in fact, that rainbow curve there shows you how much light there is of each color. Down at the bottom, the candle has almost no blue light. It's all mostly in the red zone. An LED light has that very strong blue bump. And the result is that your natural production of melatonin is suppressed by 80%. It's practically completely suppressed. So we have a direct collision here between what our bodies are looking for, which is for the blue light to disappear at night, and the new technology, which provides lots of that blue, exactly that color of blue light at night, exactly when we don't want it. The American Medical Association, recognizing all of these problems, came out 10 years ago with some recommendations saying, please don't use lights any bluer than 3000 K, and ideally less than that at night outdoors, and minimize glare. It's bad for our eyes. It's bad for safety on the roads. There are thousands of papers available on artificial light at night, that's ALAN, versus health. And here is one database on Zotero that's free for you to use, the ALAN database. And if you just plug in human health here, you get, as I say, thousands of papers in the peer-reviewed literature reporting on all of these links between light pollution and serious human health issues. How about the hazard of light pollution on our roadways, or even just walking around town? We think about, in this business, how the light is shielded or not shielded, and what direction the light is going in. So this picture shows a street light on the left, a person on the right, and a house on the right. And the street light on the left is shining a bunch of light down in that strong yellow zone. That's useful light. But the rest of the light is not useful. It's too far away from the light. It's shining directly into that person's eyes. That's the red dashed line. That's causing glare. That's a poke in the eye that is actually making it harder to see, not easier. Glare is the culprit, and we have to do everything we can to eliminate it. This street light is even shining up into the sky. And that serves absolutely no purpose at all. It's pure waste, and it's causing sky glow that is obliterating the view of the stars and bad for wildlife. So here's another picture of a similar thing. 3 houses, one in the middle with a good light on the right and a bad light on the left. The light on the left, you can see it's shining in all directions, including into the neighbor's house. The light on the right, down only, so the neighbor can sleep. This picture shows the view of the same scene, the same bright, glary light, seen through a young eye on the left and an older eye on the right. We all know what it's like to see the light of an oncoming car. It's painful. You can't see anything else. It's blinding. But it's even more blinding for older eyes, because older eyes get less transparent. They get a little more opaque over time, and that causes more glare. So the view on the right, if you are a person of a certain age who says, I can't drive at night anymore because my eyes aren't any good, I would say, wait a second. So the solution is that we just have to lock up the old folks at home? That doesn't seem right. Instead, I think we should eliminate the glare. We should make it so that all of us can go out safely and comfortably and see effectively at night. And glare is the culprit. Here's another example from my town, in fact, my street, in fact, my house. This is my street light. And many people may say, well, wait a second, don't we need all this light for safety, for preventing crime? And doesn't having more street light keep the criminals away? Well, not in this case. As I said, this is right outside my house. And that street light, which shines right on my car in my driveway, our car was vandalized twice. At night, in the middle of the night, where the thieves came, jacked up the car, stole the catalytic converter from our 2007 Prius, and dropped the car down and moved on to the next car down the street. In the middle of the night, directly under the streetlight. So did the streetlight scare them away? Not at all. It probably made it easier for them to see what they were doing. And this is just one anecdote, but there's lots of evidence that that in fact there's no strong connection between lighting and crime. It's counterintuitive. We might be hardwired to be afraid of the dark, but the evidence does not support a strong link between more lighting and less crime. In fact, more light can be worse. And here's an example. Here is a typical backyard light that's got lots of glare. If only you could somehow hold up your hand and shield your eyes from that glare, you would get this view. And you'd see, wait a second, there's a guy standing there in the gate. Well, he's in the first picture too. You just can't see him because of the glare. Glare makes it harder to see, not easier. We should do everything we can to put the light in a can facing down, and that would eliminate glare. This is many people's favorite city. It's the city of light. And yet, even in Paris, they've figured out how to turn the lights off. They have a curfew. They turn the lights off the Eiffel Tower late at night. All around France, in fact, there are curfews where cities, towns, villages turn their lights off after hours, after midnight, after 11 p.m., whatever their limit is, dramatically cutting light pollution, saving energy, and improving health for everybody. So the energy aspect, it's significant. It's complex, it's not easy to track down, but a very conservative estimate is that $3 billion are spent in the United States every year lighting up the sky, sending light directly into the sky. A slightly less conservative estimate is more like $50 billion a year. In Massachusetts, it's on the scale of at least tens of millions of dollars per year wasted around the state. It's interesting to think about the blue light in particular and our sensitivity to it, and it likely comes from this very interesting fact that light filtering through ocean water gets increasingly blue as you go deeper and deeper into the ocean. These plots show what colors of light get through the water as you go deeper and deeper from top to bottom. By the time you get to the bottom of the ocean, all that's getting through is blue light. So you might get a picture of the ocean floor like the picture on the right. That means early organisms 500 million years ago had an advantage if they could sense blue light, because they could tell when it's daytime, when it's nighttime, and they could tell whether it's time to hunt or hide or forage. And that advantage, that evolutionary advantage, is likely responsible for our own sensitivity to blue light from 500 million years ago. It's also responsible for the sensitivity of most animals and most plants to light at night, especially blue light. We all know that nocturnal animals like this barred owl are made for low light conditions. It's got big eyes that are super sensitive at night, and it needs that darkness, in fact, to hunt effectively. It's blinded by bright light, and having lights on dramatically affects its whole ecosystem. All living beings need darkness at night to thrive. They're all hardwired to live in a cycle of deep dark nights and bright sunny days. Other birds, for example, many of you are probably birders, and you might be familiar with this map from Audubon that shows the migration routes from South America, from the Caribbean, up into North America, across the United States, up into Canada, some cases all the way up to the Arctic. And it's a spectacular thing that happens. It's happening right now as bird migration kicks in for the spring. And it happens at night. This map shows it. This map is a radar map that shows clouds of birds in blue. And watch what happens as sunset occurs first on the East Coast. Watch there. That's birds taking to the wing. And as darkness, as the Earth rotates into nighttime, darkness has spread from the East Coast to the West Coast. And we saw that blue blooming there. That's millions of birds migrating at night. They're on the ground during the day. They fly all night, and then they come down to the ground again during the day. So if you're a birder, probably you're out watching migrating birds during the day. They're flitting around the trees. They're catching bugs, getting a meal, resting up, refueling, and then at dusk they take to the skies again. This map from Cornell tallies, and you can look this up yourselves, and it's getting pretty exciting here as we head into the warmer days. It tallies the number of birds passing over each county in the United States. So I looked this up for Barnstable County from a big day last year, May 12th, 2025. Over 1 million birds. Over 1 million birds flew over your heads that night. And you see the species here: flycatchers, kingbirds, warblers like the parula, northern parula. Here's the problem. The problem is that those migration routes are taking the birds over heavily light polluted areas. So here we're looking at both maps together, the light pollution and the migration. And you see that it's a direct collision in a lot of cases. Well, what's going to happen when the birds that want to migrate at night using the stars to navigate, which is what they do, what happens when they can't see the stars? Maybe they wind up dead, like this yellow-throated vireo that I found on the streets of Northampton that migrated all the way up from the Caribbean or South America, only to get distracted by the lights of Northampton, probably hit a building or got confused and circled endlessly until it dropped dead from exhaustion. It's estimated that 1 billion birds die this way every year in the United States alone. In fact, this paper concluded that sky glow, artificial light pollution in the night sky, is the second most important thing determining where birds will stop for a daily rest. And that means it's a dramatic change from their normal patterns. They're normally migrating at night, and they make their own decisions about where to stop for the daytime to rest. But now they're making those decisions without realizing it, distracted, confused by artificial lights. And so we're dramatically changing this enormous wave of migration. One example of that is in New York City. These are the tribute in light to the Twin Towers that shine these huge bright beams of light up into the sky. Those were birds migrating, birds flying in the light. They're migrating birds they're not insects, those are birds. They're supposed to be migrating, they're supposed to be flying straight at night. Instead, they get caught and confused in that light. And it's by the tens of thousands per night. The predictable result is that sometimes tens of thousands of birds die in a single night in a single city. It's not just birds, it's every other kind of animal as well. Fish, light that shine into the ocean or into rivers, act like a barrier. Fish perceive those as a barrier when they're trying to migrate. This is an example of a scene near you. This is on Nantucket. Oops, can't play the movie. That's all right. This is a tidal pool and the Milky Way on Mattocket Beach just last year. And you notice the red lights there. Those are the lights of the Vineyard wind farm. And they're pretty bright. They're red, at least they're not blue. But the jury is out about whether those lights are actually a problem for the wildlife or not. It's too soon to to have any conclusive results from studies, but the local advocates, including Gail Walker, who's here on the call today, are involved in efforts to make sure that the lights are off most of the time when there's no airplane nearby, and to turn on only when they detect an airplane. And the goal of that is to minimize the light shining into the water and affecting wildlife. These are fireflies on a warm summer night in the middle of the Connecticut River on Elwell Island. And by the hundreds of thousands, they're blinking and blinking, looking for a mate. And they need darkness at night. All insects need darkness at night. In the presence of light pollution, these fireflies just go away. And in fact, some species of fireflies are threatened with extinction just because of light pollution. We all know that outside a bright street light, the bugs, this is my street light, the bugs fly around and fly around and fly around. Half of these bugs are going to be dead by the end of the night. Instead of going off foraging, reproducing, whatever they're supposed to be doing, they're not doing it if they're attracted by this street light. This is a list summarizing, I know you can't read this, or if you can, don't bother. It's a list of the different effects on different species of different kinds of insects by different researchers in different years. And you can see it's a lot of different effects. These are all negative effects of artificial light at night on insects. For example, pollinators. This study found that in the presence of light at night, the number of visits by pollinating insects to wildflowers dropped by over half, 62%. Even during the day, it dropped by 20%. So the light pollution at night has an effect on the diurnal insects as well. We often think about pollinators as daytime insects like this monarch butterfly. What we should be thinking about is nighttime moths like this one. Of the total number of species of insects, over 5 million, only about 1 million of them have been described. About 180,000 species of butterflies and moths have been described. Almost all of those are nocturnal. So when Northampton, my city, installed, or they redeveloped their park called Pulaski Park right in the middle of town, and when they put in this pollinator garden, they got some volunteers from the pollinator network to plant all these beautiful, wonderful pollinator-friendly plants, so that by day we attract all these pollinating insects. By day, we then zap them with killer death rays from these horrible lights. So they didn't think, what are the effects of these lights on the pollinating insects? And they made a mistake, and these lights are a nightmare. And unfortunately, the city has dug in its heels and has refused to change them. We're working on it. We'll get there eventually, but they're too bright, they're too blue, they're on all night long. Everything's wrong with them, and they're certainly not good for the pollinators. So this is recognized at the highest level. These are United Nations level reports summarizing the negative poisonous effects of light pollution on the natural world. To put it another way, we all know what would happen to a wetland if we drained the water. What would happen to the animals? This frog, all the other animals would die. That's obvious. What's not so obvious is that they would also all die if we take away the darkness at night, if we ruin their habitat, their nighttime habitat, with artificial light at night. Light pollution, of course, robs us of the stars. I'm an astronomer. This is something I see every night I'm observing. On the left, a picture again from downtown Northampton. Look, you can barely see the stars. Some of the brightest stars in the sky are right there. You can barely see them. The Milky Way, forget it. But on the right, just 10 miles out of town, away from the city lights, such a relief. So many more stars. That's where we bring our students to stargaze. The quality of the night sky in terms of light pollution is sometimes categorized on this so-called Bortle scale from 1 to 9, where 1 is a pristine dark sky, 9 is Times Square or Las Vegas. Eastham is around Bortle class 4. So that means you've still got some Milky Way there. Northampton is more like Bortle class 5. It's very hard to see the Milky Way from where I bring my students to the roof of my building at Smith College. One serious problem is that light pollution is growing fast. This is a map of light pollution in the 1950s, in the 70s, in the 90s. And this was a prediction for 2025 that has unfortunately come true and worse. It's actually worse than we thought it would be. You see the whole East Coast, except for a couple of dark blue spots, is just blanketed with light pollution. It's estimated that that well over 90% of Americans cannot see the Milky Way from where they live. We measure light pollution in a lot of ways, including this citizen science project called Globe at Night, which I recommend to you. You can just go to Globe at Night online and participate yourself just by going out on a clear, dark night and comparing the maps that you see on this website to what you see in the sky, the star maps. Oh, does Orion look like this or does it look like that? And you just note that down, or you get a little gizmo that measures the night sky brightness, and then you can report it here on the website. And the dots here all show citizen scientists reporting the so-called limiting magnitude. That's the faintest star that they can observe from their location. And if I just wanted to point out that that project is what's been used to measure the change in sky glow or light pollution over time, and that found, in fact, the bad news that light pollution is growing worse at 10% per year. Remember, population growth is only 1% per year. So how is it that light pollution is growing so much faster than population? Well, here's one anecdote that will illustrate the case. This is, again, my street on a lucky night when the street light was broken. And so it was off. It's in the middle of this picture, and I could see the stars. But it was broken in a funny way. It was off for 15 seconds, and then it would turn on for 15 seconds. And then it would be off for 15 seconds, and then on for 15 seconds. The real reason I took this picture is because I knew the city was just about to install new LED lights, and I was very worried about what was going to happen. My worries were unfortunately well-founded. This is the old street light, and get ready for the new one. That's the new one. That's the one that got installed. That's my street light. I'm happy to say that now the street light looks like this. Why is that? Because I got my hands on it, and I was able to modify the street light. It happened that they brought the street light down and left it on the ground for a couple of days, and I installed an amber filter and a box around it and a glare shield, and I turned that horrible blue bump that you see on the left onto, I eliminated it with that amber shield. And now that blue bump is gone, I can sleep at night. It's better health. I can do stargazing from my backyard. It's a pleasure to walk along that street now instead of a punishment. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that all of this ground-based light pollution is now complicated by a new form of light pollution coming from outer space. These are Elon Musk's Starlink satellites streaking across the sky and ruining professional astronomy images from major telescopes in remote sites of Chile and Arizona and around the world. There's no place to escape now this new scourge of satellite constellations. That's for another day. Back to ground-based light pollution. Let's look more close up. I really recommend that you take a look. It's fun at this great website, lightpollutionmap.info, where you can check out any place you've ever lived or want to go vacation and see what the light pollution is like. And here you see color-coded how bright the sky glow is. Boston, terrible, lots of sky glow. Providence, not so great either. But look out on the Cape where you are, Eastham, now we're getting there. Now if we zoom in on Eastham, we see color-coded, well, there is some light pollution. It's not dark blue. And if we click on that spot there, we get some quantitative information. And all of this shows how bright the sky is measured in a bunch of different ways. For example, that SQM, that stands for Sky Quality Meter. You can buy for about $150 a little box, portable. You can carry it around with you and measure the sky brightness. That's in astronomer units, where the higher the number, the darker it is. The darkest it gets anywhere is 22.0 in those units. You're doing pretty well at 21.5. It lists there the Bortle class, class 4, as we said before, and it says ratio 0.569. That means that the sky where you are is 56.9%, call it 60% brighter than naturally dark sky. So the sky is not quite twice as bright as it should be. But look, it could be worse. Here in Northampton, my sky is 600% brighter than naturally dark. So I wish I had your sky. Um, Here is one measurement from Globe at Night. You see that little yellow dot next to Eastham? That's where somebody put that in and uploaded it to the website. This was in 2023. I couldn't see any more recent than this. So I encourage you to go to Globe at Night and just do this on a regular basis. Gail can talk to us in a few minutes about how she's organized a campaign to do this every new moon in Nantucket. Across the island, people go out and measure the night sky brightness. This is a great way to engage people, educate them about light pollution, and track the trend of light pollution over time. I had the great fortune to come visit the Cape just a couple of years ago with my family. We stayed at the Truro Hostel, and it's right by the beach. And by day, it's quaint and historic, if a little shabby. But by night, we saw some pretty bright lighting coming from inside and outside. And fortunately, we were able to talk to the staff and convince them to turn the lights off. And then, oh my, did we enjoy the view. The Milky Way was just glorious. And I spent hours outside photographing the Milky Way and just walking around and going to the nearby beach. And sure, you can see there's the light of a fire. The sky, the clouds are glowing from the light of Boston and the Boston suburbs shining up into the sky and illuminating those clouds. But, where I am, some, whatever it is, 50 miles away, plenty dark enough to see a beautiful Milky Way and look out over the ocean where it's even darker, and the planet Jupiter shining brightly there as it rises, reflecting on the water. What a treat. Okay, how do we fix this problem of light pollution? This is back to Northampton now, these terrible lights that the city refuses to fix. Well, one way to fix them is don't shine them in your eyes. Don't shine them up in the sky. Shine them down. Here is an example of a school in Nantucket where in the top picture, the lights are shining out sideways. In the bottom picture, they've just been turned down. That's all it is. In the lower right picture, you see there are lights that are on a hinge, and they've been first installed badly at a 45-degree angle like this, but fortunately, we convinced the owner of that property to hire somebody to go up in a cherry picker and just adjust them so that they're shining down only. The light should go down. Very simple. These lights, again in Nantucket, I'm sure you have some of these in Eastham. You could fix these lights that are shining up into the sky with a change of a light bulb that shines down only. It's an easy fix. It's the best $10 you'll ever spend. It can just spend it and give it to your neighbor if your neighbor has a bad light, and your life will be better. This is not a new concept. Think about your favorite live theater. You sit down in the audience, you look at the stage, the house lights go down, you can see what's happening on the stage. You can see perfectly well. You can even see your neighbors sitting in the audience just fine, but you're not blinded. The number one rule of theater lighting, and you can get a degree in theater lighting and study this, the number one rule is don't shine the light in the audience's eyes. Theater lights are designed like this with these sort of barn door glare reflectors. Again, the light is in a can facing the target and nowhere else. It's so simple. Why do we forget that when we turn to outdoor lighting? We all know how to use a flashlight. We should use a flashlight by pointing it at the ground, not in our own eyes. Why do we forget this basic rule when it comes to outdoor lighting? For example, here on this rail trail near me, this is in East Hampton, not Eastham, but East Hampton. What's wrong with this picture? I'm sure you can all see right away. Uh-oh, those lights have been installed 90 degrees wrong. They're installed pointing out sideways into the eyes of every user of that rail trail at night. It's the exact opposite of what you want if you want better visibility. Like, what's the best way to blind somebody? This way. Okay, number 2 rule, minimize the amount of blue light, especially blue light. Blue light is the worst. Blue light is the culprit. I would hate to live in this house and this development in Northampton, blasted by this light. Everything's wrong with it. It's unshielded, it's too bright, it's all night long, and it's too blue. Again, this is not a technological problem. The technology exists to use very high efficiency LEDs that don't have that blue bump in the spectrum, that are amber, like this one. These are cities and towns that have chosen to use only warm colored lights, meaning minimal blue. And you see a bunch in Massachusetts here, including Nantucket and Northampton, both of which have said no bluer than 2700 Kelvin. And I'm glad to say that Eastham is in this elite club. Oh, and that's a picture from Shelburne, Mass, where they installed lights that are 2200 K, and standing right there, right next to a street light, nice view of the stars. And people can sleep well at night as a result. Number 3, don't use more brightness than you need. Use only the amount that you need, and then turn the lights off when they're not needed. I'm happy to say that this school in Northampton, these horrible lights that you can see from half a mile away have now been turned off at night. So they used to be on all night long, but through a concerted effort and a campaign over the course of about a year, conversations, building relationships, we were able to convince the school to turn those lights off. What a relief. All of this is summarized in these 5 principles articulated by Dark Sky International and the Illuminating Engineering Society. Number 1, a light should be useful. It shouldn't just be stuck on a building for no reason. Number 2, targeted, meaning shine the light down only at the target, not out or up. Number 3, don't use brighter lights than you need. Number 4, turn the light off when it's not needed. Number 5, avoid blue colors. Use the warmest colors possible. There are so many benefits to following these simple rules. Glare is ugly. Being poked in the eye by a light is no fun, and it certainly doesn't improve visibility. But it's also just ugly. Making our historic properties and our natural areas beautiful again is achievable with well-considered, responsible lighting at night. Where do you get these lights? I'm suggesting that we can make these changes, but where would you find good lights? Where could we replace a bad light like this that is not well shielded, except in the very top, but the light can shine up into the sky? You could replace it with one like this, where the light shines down only. So yes, they are available. Here are good lights that the cities of Burlington, Vermont, and Mystic, Connecticut chose for their historic downtowns. Here are good lights that Berlin and Amtrak chose for their train station, also shining down only. This is a not so great light that Northampton's Amtrak station installed that's poorly shielded against glare. But downtown Northampton has lots of good examples of beautiful lights that are shining on the storefronts or on the sidewalk where they're useful, not shining in your eyes. This is perfect. The lights in a can facing down. More perfect lights along Main Street in downtown. On Smith College, I'm happy to say the lights are mostly respectful and carefully done, like this one, well shielded. It's in a good place. It's helping somebody see the walkway. It's not too bright. It's a warm color, and it respects the natural environment. So that right here at Smith campus, we have a pond populated by geese. You can hear them at night and listen. Up, I just heard the splash of a beaver tail. Wonderful wildlife right here, cheek by jowl, with 3,000 students and 5,000 employees and a city of 30,000. I'm very happy to say that the college made a great choice when they hired a good lighting designer. And I can't tell you how helpful this is for any project. Hire a good lighting designer. In this case, Suzanne Tillotson of New York City, who did our big library renovation. And she chose these lights you see on the right for the outdoors. Very tall pole. The lights are in a little can facing down, just the way we want. And those are located at the amphitheater, these concrete risers, these steps where the students congregate. And at night, it's a lovely soft glow. It's not very bright. It's mellow. In some cases, it's only as bright as moonlight, or a few tens of times as bright as moonlight. But it's much dimmer than most of the rest of campus, but it feels perfectly safe. The students feel safe there. They're happy to congregate there on a warm night like tonight. In some cases, we could convince businesses, as I said, to change their lights that are aimed wrong to aimed right. That's a really good start. Here's an example of a store in Northampton that let me go up on a ladder and turn these horrible glare lights, glare bombs, into fully shielded lights facing down only. Much better. It's more attractive. it's safer. Another example of lights that were aimed wrong, they were out sideways at first. My colleague Gary went up on a ladder, just readjusted the angle of the light, and now you can see the store, which you're supposed to see. It's better, it's safer, it's more pleasant. There's a good light, a light in a can facing down. There's a great light for a walkway, a great light for a porch, a light for a deck that is not poking anybody in the eye. That's solar powered and it's automatic. Even a prison can be lit beautifully. Here is the prison in southern Vermont that was designed by Nancy Clanton, who's a world famous dark sky friendly lighting designer. The key thing here is that that prison is right next to one of the most famous places in all of astronomy, Stellafane, an annual convention of amateur astronomers and telescope makers who have this revered, it's like Shangri-La for astronomy. And they go every year to celebrate their the tools of the trade and to stargaze together under the dark Vermont skies. They were terrified that the prison was going to ruin that special place. But because it was carefully designed, in fact, you can drive by that prison at night and not even know there's a prison there. So unlike our prison, our jail, county jail here in Northampton, this one is done right. So where can you find good lights? Well, go to darksky.org, and they have extensive advice there on where to get good lights. You can go to this website from our neighbors to the north in Quebec at Mont Mégantic Observatory. You could just go to Home Depot, and you'll find a section of dark sky friendly lights, or Lowe's. These are all good. They're all well shielded. These would be great porch lights. And again, you might spend $100 on a neighbor's light fixing them, and it might be the best $100 you ever spent. I highly recommend you go to Gail Walker. Gail's on the call today. Gail's excellent guide to good outdoor lighting at Nantucket Lights, the citizen organization that she founded and leads. And there's great suggestions here for where to get good lights and which models are going to work. All right, as I approach the end here, what can we do to regulate this problem that is bad for human health and wildlife and the starry skies and our heritage in the skies? We have a bill pending in the Massachusetts legislature, the so-called Dark Sky Bill. We would love to have your support. We would love to have you contact your senator and representatives and make sure that they have signed on to support these bills. And the bill just calls for common sense improvement for any project that is funded by the state or any municipality in Massachusetts, such as the lights should be shielded, it shouldn't be warmer than colder, it shouldn't be bluer than 3000 Kelvin, and we should use dimming and timing controls. The state of Massachusetts, the governor's office, has issued for the last 3 years a proclamation saying, we recognize International Dark Sky Week, and we recognize the importance of naturally dark skies. Dark Sky Week happens in April every year in the dark of the moon. It's coming up April 13 to 20. And across the state, there are lots of activities that celebrate darkness at night. And it's great to have Governor Healy's signature on this proclamation. You can, for more inspiration, go to the website of Nantucket Lights and see a video of Gail presenting along with her colleagues in support of the dark sky bylaw, the lighting bylaw that was adopted in Nantucket in 2023. And maybe you'll also find while you're poking around there that the Chamber of Commerce in Nantucket promotes the legendary dark skies of Nantucket as a tourism attractor. And you might find this this note in Nantucket Green Guide, which maybe you have an equivalent of in Eastham, promoting the benefits for wildlife and energy savings of doing responsible lighting at night. And when I went to Nantucket, I was able to see a beautiful starry sky over historic properties. What a treat. It's possible that Nantucket will join over 250 places around the world that have been certified as official dark sky places. The application is in, it's going through the process, And it's a long and difficult process, but maybe Nantucket will join these places around the world that are celebrated for their commitment to preserving darkness at night. This is something you could also do in East End. We have a good lighting code here in Northampton as well. It was updated in 2024, and this has really been useful. I can't tell you how useful it is to have a good, strong code with specifics in it to help enforce the values that we've agreed on with hard numbers whenever it comes to a project that doesn't comply. Dark Sky Massachusetts, very active chapter that I invite you all to join. You can find us at darkskymass.org. And when you go to that website, you all will recognize this picture because it's from your town. That picture shows the National Park Service Salt Pond Visitor Center area in Eastham, photo taken by photographer John Fole, who let us use it for our website. And we use it as inspiration. Look, it's possible to see a beautiful view of the Milky Way from where we live here in our beloved state. Eastham does have lighting controls on the books. You've got really good intentions and a pretty good start. These are the standards that are on the books right now. For example, lighting should be shielded so that, okay, there are some details here. It needs to be strengthened. We can talk about the details when the time is right. Right now, I just want to say, good start. It's great that you've already limited the color to be warmer than 3000 K. That's excellent. But there are parts that can be strengthened. Here is more of your existing lighting code that could be strengthened. It's got good intentions. It says the right things like eliminate light trespass, fully shielded, directed downward. What it doesn't have is the details to measure these things so that they can be enforced. As it is now, it's going to be very hard to enforce these, says me. I mean, I want to hear what you all have experienced in town, but that's my assessment. We have on our website at Dark Sky Mass a model lighting ordinance that I invite you to look at and use as a template for any future revisions of your own lighting bylaw. So here's a summary. What can you do to help bring back the stars and to protect all of our health and the health of plants and wildlife? Well, you can strengthen the lighting ordinance you have. You can join Dark Sky Massachusetts. If you don't have time to get involved in our campaigns, we'll take your money. We'll put it to good use. Make sure if you're involved in conservation efforts, which I think all of you are, make sure that light pollution is included in those conservation efforts, whether it's with the Appalachian Mountain Club or the Sierra Club or Audubon or a land trust or any other nature center or conservation oriented organization. Dark skies should be part of their platform. Adopt the 5 principles. It's an easy way to get your school or your institution or your business to start a good conversation. Those 5 principles are statements of value. They don't have numbers in them, and it's an easy ask that will get the conversation going. Finally, I just want to emphasize how important it is to share with people the beauty of the night, the magic of the night, how you need it, how everybody needs it, how it's not just about scary things, it's also about beauty and joy and magic. And we can bring those things back. It's not that hard. Light pollution is bad for all these reasons that we just talked about, but it's easy to fix. It's just the flip of a switch. It's not like water pollution or air pollution that sticks around for long after the source is turned off. You turn off the source of light pollution, the pollution goes away immediately. So I'll leave you with a big thank you and a view of a comet during the pandemic that maybe some of you saw from Eastham. That was this special visitor, Comet Neowise, in our skies that united us all in this difficult time when we were all so isolated and stuck in our homes, and the night sky was a way that we could connect with each other. And by the hundreds of thousands, people went out at night to look at this comet and to feel connected with their loved ones across town or across the world. And what a joy it was. It was challenging because of light pollution, So my dream is that we can step out all of our back doors and see a view like this from wherever we live. So thank you for your help in reaching that dream. And now I'll stop the share. And I don't know if Gail has anything that she wants to say from her perspective, leading Nantucket Lights, and then open it up to questions. Gail, anything that you want to add now?
Hi. Can you hear me, James?
We can hear you. Yes, Gail.
Hi. So yeah, I didn't have any remarks planned, but I'm happy to offer my help to Eastham and to kind of tell you what worked on Nantucket. Might not work everywhere, but I started working on light pollution issues here about 10 years ago. And as James said, I was able to get a new bylaw passed in Nantucket in 2023. And now we're just trying to give guidance and help people comply with that. And I guess the only other thing I would add is we are going for that dark sky community certification. So our bylaw is a little stricter than maybe you would want in your town. But if you want to go for dark sky community certification like we are, which I strongly recommend, then our bylaw would be a good model for you. It's a little stricter than the Dark Sky Massachusetts model bylaw for that reason, because to get that community certification, Dark Sky International requires you to go a bit further. But anyway, happy to answer questions. I didn't have any prepared remarks because I knew they wanted to mainly hear from you, James.
Gail, you could easily have given this talk yourself and better. And Gail is an incredible resource that I hope people will feel ready to avail themselves of. I do see there are some notes in the chat. For example, Cape Cod used to have really nice dark skies, and it still does, and we'll get them back. You have to make sure to choose, oh yes, when using lightpollutionmap.info, you have to make sure to choose a new data set from that site. True. There are a number of different data sets that show you different views. You have to take with a grain of salt the time series that it shows. Scott Canoni says, you said Eastham uses 2700K lights even at the high school. I'm curious to learn how we can make an impact and reduce light pollution. I do not know what the high school uses. There might be a lot to say about that. There might be a long story there. I don't know the story at all. All I know is that the Eastham zoning bylaw says you can't use bluer than 2700 or 3000 at the most. It probably doesn't apply to Eastham's own lights, such as the high school. It depends on the bylaw. Here in Northampton, our new bylaw does apply to municipal lights as well, but the old one didn't. So the devil's in the details. It really depends. Other questions or comments from people? Tom, you have a hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Gail. How has the reaction from the business community been as you've progressed through these different initiatives?
Well, I would say we have pretty broad support. I'm trying to work with the different businesses and nonprofits, as well as the town and private homes. So I'm trying to work across the board. My focus, actually, more recently, all of last year and into this year, is getting the town to upgrade all their lighting, because I think they should lead by example. But different people reach out to me for help all the time, and I try to give it to them. And I would say most of our problem actually doesn't come from the businesses. We don't have any big commercial areas. If you've been in Nantucket, we've got the historic town, and the lighting down there is not as horrible as in other commercial places. So I would say the businesses are the main culprit here. It's really spread out, but I'm getting support really across the board. I would say, I'm happy to say, but it's a work in progress. Under our bylaw, any lighting that had been installed before the new bylaw went into effect, they have until January 1st of 2029 to come into compliance. So I think people are still planning for how they're going to upgrade their lights. But all new construction and substantial renovations, they have to comply with the new regulations.
Thank you.
Shana, please go ahead.
Well, first, I just want to say, wow, that was a really interesting and eye-opening presentation. So thank you so much for
Thank you, Shana. My pleasure.
providing it. It was really intriguing. I think we all want to kind of turn all of our lights off. But I also wanted to mention that I visited recently a certified dark sky community out in Arizona, and they had a downtown. It was a population of about 10,000 in Sedona, and their downtown had corporations, Starbucks, all kinds of businesses, a whole strip of commercial businesses, and all the buildings, hotels had that really warm lighting, and it's really amazing to see what a community can accomplish to be a dark sky community. And did some stargazing out there, and it is also an economic tourism draw. So they do have like tours that you can sign up for and things to do. So that also reminds me that I reached out to the Cape Cod National Seashore, and they do have a dark sky festival that they've been having for the last couple of years. So if anybody's interested, just kind of keep an eye out. I don't think they have a date set yet, but it should be the end of August, early September timeframe. They kind of go out to Wellfleet and they have some events around that. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And for East Ham's bylaws, I think the zoning at this point kind of surrounds our commercial district in town. There's not really specific lighting requirements for residences at this point, other than downshielding, which I believe kind of applies to new construction. So there's nothing that really is a blanket statement for all of the properties residentially. And I believe that district does not include our high school. So we have a start, but we have a little ways to go.
I think Gail, thank you, Shana. Gail just wanted to respond to that, and then we'll turn to Chris.
Yeah, I just wanted to say your probably your bylaw is probably a zoning bylaw, it sounds like. And that's something you have to think about if you are planning or wanting to strengthen it. Our bylaw in Nantucket is a general bylaw so that it can apply to the schools because the public schools are one of the worst offenders here. And they are exempt from zoning bylaws. And the other reason we went with a general bylaw was it can be applied to lighting that pre-existed the new regulations, whereas a zoning bylaw, I believe, for the most part, can't be made retroactive. And the third reason we went with a general bylaw is it's much easier to get it passed because it only requires a simple majority vote in our town meeting instead of a 2/3 majority. But that's probably why your school is exempted and not complying with the bylaw you have now, or doesn't have to comply with the bylaw you have now.
Thanks, Gail. And I see Chris has a hand up.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hi, folks. Chris Powicki calling from Brewster. I'm chair of Sierra Club's Cape Cod and Islands group, and I'm joined by my dog, Maisie, who's excited about tonight's presentation. Shana, thanks for hosting this meeting. And James and Gail, every time you guys talk, I learn a little bit more. Sierra Club hosted a presentation just like this earlier this year, and we're committed to helping towns and communities and groups on the Cape promote the dark sky movement and learn from Nantucket's example and from James's talks and work at the grassroots level to try to get stronger bylaws passed in individual communities. Just to know, there are folks interested in Chatham. I've heard of interest in a couple other communities. There's been discussions here in Brewster, and so Sierra Club hopes to support a Cape-wide movement to promote dark skies. And I really love the idea, Gail, of the New Moon project and getting people to report their sightings. And I think that's the kind of thing that Sierra Club might want to support across the Cape, and really, maybe start right away and try to track what happens over the summer season, and let people understand how important it is to follow the examples of other communities. So to the folks in Eastham, if you're interested, I'm in touch with Gail and James, and Sierra Club is offering its assistance to identify folks who can come out who are our members in Eastham, and try to support this.
Chris, I love what you said. Thank you so much for everything in there. And I think what you said really reflects that this is a movement. The Dark Sky movement is international. It's many thousands of people. There are over 50 cities and towns in Massachusetts that have some kind of lighting regulation out of the 351. Sierra Club has actually been a really powerful friend and ally in promoting advocacy for our dark sky bill in the legislature, and we so appreciate that. And I love the idea of building on Gail's Globe at Night experience and transplanting that onto the Cape. We learn from each other, and we depend on each other, and having a collaboration between dark sky advocates and environmentalists who might not really know so much about dark skies is a really, really powerful thing.
Yeah, again, thanks for the work you're doing. And Shauna, I think it's great that the town and the community in Eastham have made this a priority, and I hope other communities will follow your example.
Thanks, Chris. Gail, you had a hand up again.
Yeah, I was just going to add about the sky quality monitoring that we do. If Eastham is interested in pursuing dark sky community certification like we are, having a what's called an SQM program is actually one of the requirements. So that's one of the things we started, even before we got the bylaw passed, just to get the community more aware of the quality of our dark skies and what we were doing, but also to meet this requirement. And it's a bit of a formal requirement that you have to work with Dark Sky International on setting up. But I highly recommend it. It's really actually kind of fun to go out every month and take the measurements.
I just put in the chat a link to buy one of those gizmos, and you should buy 10 of them while you're at it. If you get there, it's about $150, and if you can rally the money for it, then you get them into people's hands. There are thousands of these around the world. I have 10 of them right here at Smith College. Well, folks, if no more questions, then maybe we should let people go. And Shana, thank you again so much. Thank you all for coming. Thanks, Gail, for adding your really big 2 cents. Nice to see you all. Good luck, dark skies, and enjoy the warm weather.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're recording, so
Thank
we'll
you.
share it. We'll share it out.